In this first look video from InfluenceWP, we are checking out a WordPress plugin called Novashare. This is going to give you a lightweight social sharing solution for WordPress. Before we poke around the website here a bit and then look at the actual solution together, just a quick bit of housekeeping. First look videos cover products we have no prior experience with. They show vendors how new users experience their website and product for the very first time. These videos are unedited, high-level introductions that are not paid for, they're not sponsored, and they contain no affiliate links. If you would like videos like this created for your business, go to influencewp.com/partners and request your free lifetime partner membership. And we thank Novashare for being a partner. If you like what you see in this video, go over to our site, find the deals area, find Novashare, and grab that exclusive deal. Before we dive in further, I want to reiterate one more time, these are high-level introductions, that these are not official tutorials, and these videos often contain visual aspects for a solution. So I can't always do the visual aspects justice within a short period. So I highly recommend going over to the official website for the vendor, check any demos they may have, any screenshots and things of that nature to get a good visual representation of what's possible with the solution. Okay. All right. So the website we are looking at is novashare.io. That's N-O-V-A share.io. And what we're going to do is we're going to find the features. We're going to rattle them all off just in case I miss any when we go to look at the actual solution. And then I'm going to look at some other key pages. So right off the top, I see a link to the features. So we're going to dive in there and rattle these off. Share buttons and counts. So you get an idea of what this is going to look like right here. And then we see the share count over here on the right-hand side. These are all of the networks that are currently possible. And then we see which ones have that share count feature available. Lightweight and fast. The team behind this solution, Forge Media, is also the team behind the highly respected Perf Matters performance plugin for WordPress. So I have no doubt that this is lightweight and fast if they say it is. Moving on down, GDPR friendly, easy UI, full block editor support. So whether you're using the full block editor, obviously it's going to work in there because they say it will. And then there's also if you use classic editor, that will work. If you use a page builder, that will work because they give you short code functionality. So we're not going to touch the short codes in this video. We're going to just focus on the block editor. But just know that you have that short code capability to drop their features into any piece of content that you want. Next up is social share count recovery. So they're giving you multiple ways to recover social counts. So maybe you've made changes to your website, whether it's like you switched from HTTP to HTTPS to get that security in there, and then some links got messed up, or you change your domain name, whatever the case may be. They help you kind of recover from those scenarios. Next up, we have Pinterest image hover pins. So if that's something that Pinterest is something that's part of your business and your audience, then we see here the ability to hover over a pin and pin that to Pinterest, obviously. Scales across all devices. So you're going to get a very responsive solution here, regardless of the screen size. It's going to look good across all screen sizes. Match your branding. They give you all kinds of different ways to match the features to your branding. So the buttons or whatever it is that you're putting on a page for those shares and those follows, you can just fully match them to your brand. Follow block and widget. So they give you 60 plus buttons and networks. You can even add your own custom SVG icons and a whole other host of features here. And they give you an idea of what this looks like right there. So the bottom one is just kind of what comes out of the box, which is the branding of the actual networks. And then up here at the top, we see that we can add our own colors if we want. Next up is analytics and link shortening. So you can put UTM parameters in your links. You can do things like get reporting from Google Analytics or Fathom Analytics. You can shorten your URLs, all kinds of options there. Highlight and share. So this feature, as they show here, you can highlight text on the page, for example, and then you're going to get a modal pop-up that gives you these quick share options. So that's a really slick feature. And then there's other sub features, if you will. Multi-site support is next. So if you happen to be running multi-site, they support that. And then support and ongoing development. So I know this team personally, and I know how amazing they are at providing support. So they're pledging here that they are not going to outsource their support. I believe that. So if you use this plugin or any of their other solutions, you're going to experience some of the best support in the business. That I can assure you from my experience. Okay. Go anywhere and ask about Forge Media's support reputation. You'll get nothing. 99.99% sure you're going to get nothing but rave reviews. Okay. All right. So next up, again, I am check out if a site that I am highlighting and the product I'm highlighting has a demo. I always recommend you check that out. Clicking on the demo here, you can get a really good visual representation of what you can expect. Okay. All right. I want to check the about page. I want to check the documentation. Let's go down in the footer and see what we can find down there. We have a change log. Cool. And they take feature requests. So that's really nice. Okay, let's go to the about page. Yeah, so this is exactly what I would expect from this team. Names with faces, highly reputable guys. Docs, as I would expect, on point, beautiful. Yeah, let's check it out. Let's try the search. Let's do a search for the word share to see what comes up. Yep, share comes up and search results, and the documentation is amazing as I would expect. I'm going to keep this up on my screen in case we need it. And then let's look at the changelog again, just as I would expect from these guys. Beautiful changelog. We've got dates to go along with the version numbers. Can't stress that enough. That to have that. If you're a product creator, that helps establish trust. It communicates things better. It's just better all around. So as you can see, these guys do everything right. Okay. All right. I think we're ready to dive in. We've got the docs ready to go in case we need them. Let's go to our dashboard. We have Novashare installed, and we see a little settings link here. Let's see where else we can find this. Okay, so under the main settings, menu item 2, we will find the settings. All right, let's dive in. So off the top, we have inline content. So if we toggle this on, then from the documentation that I read, it's just going to appear wherever we define it to appear. So toggle that on, and this is what I mean. Post types. Where do we want to just display this right off the bat? Okay, so by default, we have posts. All right, I'm going to go ahead and leave the default options enabled, but just know that you can toggle on additional networks. Also, we can toggle on, we have an option to just like a share button, right? So I'm going to put those 4 on. We're going to leave the defaults across the board otherwise, okay, and save our changes. Okay, so let's go to our posts. Let's edit. All right, so we're dealing, again, they have a shortcode option. We're going to just work with the block editor. So with the block editor, you can do a slash that leans to the right, and that's going to pull up the available blocks. You can also go up here in the top left and click on this plus icon. It'll kind of get you to the same spot. So I'm going to do the slash that leans to the right, and I'm just going to do a search for Nova. So that's going to give you the 3 blocks that come from the Novashare plugin. And we're going to first start with the share buttons. Okay. Once that's in, we need to click this plus symbol to add whatever networks we want to show up. So we're going to go there. Let's do X. Let's go back. Let's add Facebook. And then let's add, actually, I take that back. We don't need to do this yet. Let's go view this on the front end. It should just appear. Yeah, here we go. This should just appear because as I said, as soon as you toggle that on and you choose where to display it, it's just going to display it. Okay. So that's my bad. So we toggled this on. That's going to display these 4 items right here, which we are seeing right here. Okay. So what I just did would be, if you want to do this like kind of like an override, if you will, you could do that. Okay. So that is there. So like, I'm going to give an example. So let's say we go back to our settings. Let's say we enable inline content. But let's say we only toggle on pages. Let's save that. Refresh. It should be gone from this page. But then can we go in on a post by post basis and add this in? So let's go to posts. Let's add our Nova block. Let's add our network. We'll just do one. Let's just do X for now and save. There we go. So that's how you could use that. And then once you're in there, you can then style these individually. So you select the block and you have all these options over here on the right side to do whatever it is that you want to do. Maybe you want to change the button style from solid to inverse. So it gives that outline look. You want to change the button layout, the alignment, the button size. Maybe you want to go large, small, all kinds of display options. Do you want to show the share count? It's okay. We turn that on so you can see that right there. Do you want it to be before or after the icons? What color do you want that those share counts to be? Do you want to put a call to action in here? Okay, so I could put a text here, like let me type in CTA. So we see that call to action appearing above the top. You can style it, the font and everything, the color of the font. Okay, so that is that. Going back into Novashare, let's say we don't want to inline it, but maybe we want to do a floating bar. Let's toggle that on. Let's toggle on the share option, and let's go with just showing it on posts. Save, refresh. Now we have this floating bar over here on the left-hand side. And on scroll, that's just going to stay right where it is. Going back in here, just as you have with the inline content, you can say, show this on pages, show this on media, show it on all of these. Do you want to show on archives, on the home page? Where do you want to position this stuff? Right now we're doing it on the left. We can push it over onto the right. You can adjust the breakpoints and how this, when and which breakpoints this is going to display on. Do you want to do an offset on the edge, top, show on scroll or not? Do a scroll. I mean, it's just awesome, awesome. Very granular in what you can, where you can display this, how you want to display it, all kinds of things. So right here we've got a design section for all kinds of options. Mobile, same thing, all kinds of options. Share counts, you can choose the positioning of that, the colors. Yeah, super, super awesome stuff. Basically, the inline and the floating bar are going to be kind of pretty similar especially as far as the design goes. But there's definitely going to be some unique options in each area because of the positioning, right? Yeah, so that's cool. Again, you can toggle on whatever it is, whichever of these networks you want to show. Cool, cool. All right, let's go to share buttons. So going back to the floating bar, you saw I enabled the share option. So this section, share button, this is where you define which of these options are displayed when someone clicks that share icon. Right now, all of them are enabled by default, but you can start unticking these here. All right, we're going to leave them all checked. You can add a call to action like I showed you a bit earlier if you want to throw some text above it, and then design that to give people a call to action. Here you can adjust some of the design. So maybe we don't want solid. Maybe we want to do the inverse. So when I did inverse, so it looks like it doesn't change it here in the back end. So let's see if it does on the front end. We'll start with the defaults. Here you can adjust the size. So it looks like it's only going to do it on the front end. And then again, we've got the share counts. Do you want to display that? So let's go ahead, save our changes. Let's go back to our post. Here is that share option. When I click this, it's going to give us all of those options. Okay, so now let's go back into the settings. Let's change the button style to inverse. So this should give us that border look. Okay, refresh the page, click share, boom, there we go. So it gives us a totally different look. So now when you go over here and you click one of these, let's just say copy. There you go, URL copy to the clipboard. Let's say we want to print it. You can pulls up your printer stuff. Very, very cool. And then obviously clicking on these networks is going to take you to the networks where you can share it. Very, 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 very cool stuff. Okay, let's look next at click to post. So this is going to give you an icon. It looks, like this. I think it looks like it's X at this point. Click to post. So let's go over to our post. Let's do that slash that leans to the right. Let's type in Nova to give us our options. Here we go. Click to post. Okay. Clicking on that block, we then have the option. We can also do it back in globally. So back here in Novashare, this is what I would call like global styling. If you go in and you do it individually on a post, you can override this to a unique look. Okay, let's test that theory out. So I'm going to set a theme of simple. Okay, let's check this out on the front end. Let's see. Let me go back here. Go back. Let me go back. Let me go back. Call to action text. Click to post. Okay. Let's see here. I might have to read some documentation on this. There we go. Okay, so I had to put some text in there. So you can put in here whatever it is that you want to put in here. Let's go back to Novashare. Sorry, let's go to the post. Here we can say, this is an amazing post. Then down here we have some other options where we can specify a social media image. So when it goes up to X, you want that formatted for X, Twitter, so it looks good. You can put some meta information in here, so like a description, a title. You can hide the floating bar, hide inline content, all kinds of things down here. I just noticed all this meta information. This looks like it's not specifically because it talks about Pinterest. Interesting. I thought this would be for the click to post, but it looks like it's for something even more than that. Anyway, so we set this over in Novashare, that simple theme. So that's what we have here. Okay, so when we click this button, click to post, that's going to take us over to X and try to make that post. Very cool. Okay, so what I wanted to test was, can we override that theme, if you will, for that little widget? So if we come over here, I'm going to set this to default accent background. There we go. So see how that changes? Let's go back to post. Let's go simple transparent background. Actually, let's go simple alternative gray background. Save. Refresh. There we go. So again, I think of this area here as more of a global, whether it's click to post, floating bar, inline content. I think these is all like global areas to set it up. Because when you're in the block editor, you can add these and override them on an individual post, page, whatever basis, right? All right, so that is that. So now with that block in there, we can select it. We can put that again, put some CTA text in there. We could say like share me. Call to action position is set to global by default. We can go right or left. So we can move that over to the left if we want. Remove URL, remove username. So when we go to do that share, hide hashtags. Not sure what this, oh, okay. So the color picker here is like the color of, you see how that's changing? Super, super cool. Okay. I think that pretty much covers that block. Yeah. I'm still not sure down here. Maybe this is just, I think this is on a post by post basis, right? Where you can do this meta. That's what I'm guessing, and that's why we're also seeing Pinterest in here. So this isn't something specific to this X sharing thing. This is just the meta for this particular post. How we can tell that is to do this. Let's put in IWP title, save. Let's go over to our post. Let's add a new one. Yeah, I don't even need to continue this. See here that the title's gone. So that's exactly what that is. That's just meta for individual posts. All right, let's go back to Novashare. So I think we're good on inline content. I think we're good on the floating bar. We're good on the share button. We're not going to go through all the styling options because you can figure all of that out. It would make the video a bit long. Okay. Again, just remember this stuff is like the global. This is the global area for setting this stuff. All right. Highlight. Enable highlight. What is highlight? Display social share buttons over highlighted text. Oh, okay. 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 So we're going to toggle that on. We'll just go blue sky for now. Okay. And where do we want to display this? Let's just go with leaving that blank and see what happens. Okay. So on this post, if I highlight some text, let's go back to the post. Let's just put in some text. Can't get my block to come up. Let's see. Let's go back here. Let's see, paragraph. There we go. Okay, so let's put some text in here. Test, highlight, text. Okay, let's check this out. So now when I hover over the word highlight, for example, it should give me that little modal. Okay, this is more, that's a browser thing. So let's go back to Novashare. Let's enable this on posts. Let's highlight this again. Okay, that is not, there we go. So I think the browser is having an issue here. Not Novashare. I think it's hidden behind there because so let's do this. Yeah, see how it's kind of hidden behind there? So that's actually interesting. Maybe a good feedback here for, I want to hide that. There we go. It's a bit of feedback for the Novashare guys is maybe put this in their documentation. Just as a helpful tip of how to turn that off. I'm using Microsoft Edge in this case, but there we go. So it is actually working. That is super cool. Highlight whatever text you want to share. Boom, share it. All right, that is really, really, really neat. So you can control where that is allowed to occur and choose which networks, how you want to style it. So now let's get into Pinterest. Share button behavior. You can share post image, share an image grid. We're not going to get into the Pinterest side of thing, mainly because I don't get into Pinterest and I don't really have any way to show this off. So that's where I would say go to the Novashare website and check their demos for this. But just know that this functionality is in there for Pinterest to drop those image pins on there. Toggle that on. Again, where do you want to allow that to happen? How do you want to style it? All that sort of stuff. Okay. Under configuration, we can turn on enable X counts, request and store X share accounts using a third-party service. So you toggle that on, and then you've got a couple different services. Punch in your X user information. We can also tie into Facebook, putting in your app ID and app secret, put a subscribe link, URL used for your subscribe button. You can hook up with Mastodon. You can drop some custom CSS in here if you want to style some things up and you don't have another convenient way to add CSS to your site, especially if you're a beginner or a beginner to intermediate with CSS and you're looking for a convenient place to add CSS to your site. This might be an option. Depends on your preference. Down here under meta, do we want to enable Open Graph? So print out Open Graph meta tags with Novashare in the section of your site. Okay, hide the meta box. So we saw this earlier when that meta we were talking about. I put that title in. So this will actually hide that. So let's toggle that on. Let's go to our post. See this down here? This should go away now. There we go. Okay, so if that's something that you want to do, you can do that. If you don't plan on ever configuring that, you probably should, but if you don't, just clean up that interface. Make a nice clean interface there. If you want to set a default social image, you can do that. Share counts. So I'm guessing, yeah, set a minimum total share count threshold to reach before counts are displayed. Yeah, that's kind of cool. So if you just have one share, you may not want to show that, or two or three. You might want to wait till it gets to a significant number before displaying it. Share counts refresh rate. So you've got different options there. How often you want Novashare to go grab those share updates and update your site. Purge share count. So if you kind of want to start over and for whatever reason, you can do that. Google Analytics, if you want to do some UTM tracking, you can do that. We're not going to get into all that, but just know that you can track using Google Analytics what people are doing when they're clicking your social share links and all of that. Link shortening, if you happen to use Bitly, so this ties into Bitly, just put in your Bitly information here, and then you can start working with short links and Bitly through Novashare. Share count recovery. So we highlighted this towards the beginning of the video. If you did some stuff to your site that may have adjusted, whether it's HTTP or HTTPS, or you've changed some permalinks or your domain or whatever, then you might need to come in here and toggle some of this on and try to recover some of those counts. But if you've been running your site for a while and you haven't made any of these kinds of changes, then you should have nothing to worry about there. Okay, let me go back to the Novashare website real quick. Let me look at the features. We looked at the share buttons and counts. Again, certain networks allow you to show the counts and some don't. Yep, I think we looked at all of this. Block editor, we looked at that. Social share account recovery, we talked about that, briefly looked at it. Pinterest, we briefly touched on. Again, I mean, you see the demo here, how that works. Match your branding, we looked at that. Oh, the follow block. We didn't look at that one. So let's go back to our post. Okay, let's do the slash leans to the right. Let's do Nova. There we go. Here's our follow buttons. Now we can add those networks, whatever it is. Let's put in X there. Let's put in one more just for fun. Let's put in Facebook. There we go. Save. Refresh. That did not get our follow buttons in there. All right, let's go over here on the right hand. So I've selected the block. So it's adding an icon linking to your social profile. Okay, that's cool. We can adjust the shape. So square, rounded, circular, the alignment, the size, colors, all that good stuff. Okay, so there we go. That's the part that's missing. You got to click into the individual icons and then choose. Okay, there we go. So that's probably why it didn't appear. I'll just put a fake link in here. Just put a hashtag. All right, let's check this out now. There we go. Now they click that link. Hypothetically, if that was an actual link, it's then going to link to your accounts and they can follow you. So, all right, guys, I hope I did this plugin some justice in this, again, just a high level introduction. I've never seen this plugin before. So hopefully you got some value out of this. If you like what you see with Novashare, go over to our website, InfluenceWP.com, find the deals area and grab that exclusive deal for Novashare. All right, I'll see you all in the next video.